It's possible that Idaho will be home to a U.S. nuclear campus. How likely that is, well, it depends on whom you ask, and also who is elected governor in November. Justin Core joins us now to talk about it. Justin, we've heard from Governor Brad Little, Terry Pickens on this. Now we're hearing from John Stegner, right?
We are, in fact, yeah. First, if you haven't heard about the U.S. nuclear campus, you're not watching enough of the 208, but nobody's perfect, so I'll tell you about it. It actually all started back in the late 80s when nuclear waste in Idaho was a massive issue and resulted in a federal lawsuit. But in 1995, Governor Phil Batt settled that lawsuit. It ordered the U.S. Department of Energy to stop shipping certain types of nuclear fuel to Idaho, while also requiring the federal government to remove man-made nuclear waste from the state, and also capped the amount of other nuclear waste Idaho would take in. Fast forward to July of this year, when Idaho was named as one of the finalists for a nuclear energy innovation campus by the Department of Energy. The proposed campus or campuses would, quote, support activities across the full nuclear fuel life cycle and could be used for power generation and advanced manufacturing. Governor Brad Little said, quote, we look forward to working with DOE to continue advancing every stage of the nuclear life cycle, strengthening our nation's energy security, creating good-paying jobs, and ensuring Idaho remains the home of America's nuclear renaissance, end quote. Democratic candidate for governor Terry Pickens said something very different, calling it a shady nuclear waste proposal, while still affirming her support for the INL and its research. But in the interest of equal time, what does the independent candidate for governor, John Stegner, think?
I think I'm somewhere in the middle. I think the Idaho National Laboratory is a tremendous resource. I'm all for nuclear research and innovation. But what I don't agree with is not mentioning the cost that would be borne by undertaking that INL contract, that contract with the feds. Let's go back in history. 1995, Phil Batt enters into a settlement with the feds, accepts 55 metric tons of waste for the next 40 years. That 40 years has not yet expired. And what's happening is the feds are talking about giving us 33,000 metric tons of waste. At a minimum, it might be up to 95,000 if we are the sole recipient of that contract. So I think we ought to have a cost-benefit analysis. I don't think it was done very transparently.
So we will see what happens from here. The Department of Energy has the final say on where that nuclear campus goes.
Okay, but depending on the governor's race, that could change?
It might. I mean, both Stegner and Pickens do not love this idea, but you all have the final say on that on Election Day, November 3rd.
Write it down. November 3rd, we're almost there.
I don't have a pen. Can I borrow a pen?
Yeah, I need a pen. All right.
You just remind me.
Yeah, we will keep doing that.